Hey, what's up, family? Hope you're having a good day. If not, you know what I always say. Tomorrow's going to be a better day because we're going to manifest it with our thoughts and intentions. So, wanted to get on here and share a kind of brief snapshot in my day to day because it was definitely an interesting one and a one to where I really started to second guess myself there for a little bit. And it took me reflecting on the situation and how far I really come, how far I really came to really put that S back on my chest, I guess you would say. So, like as I was saying, anybody that's been part of a toxic dynamic knows that in the moment, especially if there's, and a lot of times, or in most cases, there's nothing that you're doing to contribute to it to make it toxic, or even if you may have contributed to it initially, or we all make mistakes. We're not perfect individuals, so initially, whatever the situation may have been, right or wrong, if you're a person, especially if you're watching this, then you've always held yourself accountable, or you've got to a point to where you started holding yourself accountable and to other people that can intimidate them. But one way or the other, in essence, if you've been part of a toxic group, then you know the dynamic as far as in the moment it's painful. There's a lot of emotions that you go through in that moment that they're not aware of. And the idea is once only everything you're doing is just trying to figure out kind of how to get yourself out of it. So once you get yourself out of it, then it's healing yourself from that toxic dynamic. So in my particular instance, the people that I was involved in that work dynamic, I would literally get PTSD, I guess you would say, whenever I would even see their pictures, because I remember once I finally got away from them into a totally different environment dynamic, I would still get notifications that would pop up occasionally and would have their pictures, and I just remember my chest and stuff would get really tight. So luckily, my company offers some therapy sessions. So I took advantage of that, went through the therapy sessions, and really talked about the scenarios, did my own internal work, and really got and did a lot of healing work. So as they say, you're never done fully healing. There's more work to be done. So in essence, I hadn't seen those individuals for over a year. And so today at this work event, in essence, was the first time that I had seen them and had been around them in over a year. So when I saw them, pretty much my initial thoughts was, how do I be the bigger, mature person and keep it cordial with them, but yet still not be an a-hole? So, because one, you want to see them but just kind of walk past them, so to speak, or do you just kind of see them but just like wave, kind of give them a nod, or do you go up and give them a handshake and engage kind of in light conversation and try and, and put those things behind you? And just because they treated you one way doesn't mean that you treat them that way. So, a lot of different things were kind of going through my head. So, but I noticed that when I saw them in person this time, or actually in person, because previously it was just via digital pictures online because I wasn't around them. So this was really the first time, I would say, well, second time, but really the first time. Second time I've seen some of them, but really the first time I've seen all of them together. And I noticed once I saw them that I didn't stress out like I had previously. And even leading up to it, when I would see their pictures from time to time, I noticed that gradually over time that I really wasn't tensing. But the part that really got me is the leader that was the one that was really behind a lot of things. He was receiving awards and like recognition, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I know this person, or at least I know the experience that I had with them and how they treat people, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, am I the bad, like, was I the bad person in that scenario? Like, was it me that was like messing up or that was causing the issue? And here, this, even though I was accepting accountability, did I still have some blind spots that I wasn't seeing that I needed to zoom out even further than I felt like I was doing in the moment to see when I looked back on that story? So, and it really got me thinking, just like, this person's being celebrated. So, clearly he's helping people and he's being a guiding light to others. But in my particular scenario, like, he wasn't for me. He was basically going out of his way to tear me down and stuff. So, and so it really got me in my head to where I caught myself, sitting there, and even for a few minutes, I was thinking to myself, really, am I the bad one in this scenario? Am I looking at this different, completely wrong? Like, is there some more zooming out that I needed to? And it really got me in a state of second guessing myself, in essence, is what I'm trying to say. And it took me a little bit of just sitting there talking, because what we're always tied up, or we can be tied up, or we're typically tied up, especially in those toxic situations when we were done wrong, tied up on the 3D reality of wanting to see the revenge. And I know I've heard plenty of people talk about not physically seeing the revenge, or not making that your motive, or not making that your plot, so to speak, and just giving it to the divine. And that's what I've called myself doing, is giving it to the divine and not really harboring on that, because I understand what that situation taught me, how it empowered me, and how it's helped shape me to be the person that I am today. And for that, I will be eternally grateful. So, but I will be lying if I didn't say that the parts of me that went through that turmoil and experienced that turmoil, those tears, that pain, that agony and stuff that they put me through, I would be lying if I didn't say that I would at least want them to experience some, even a fraction of that. We never want anybody to get hurt and stuff, but, I definitely would like them to experience, to a degree, just that emotional agony that they put me through in that moment and stuff. So, and then there's the conundrum, because, we're obviously, we're on that path to where, I don't want to see anybody suffer and get hurt and stuff. And that's the interesting and funny juxtaposition there between the dichotomy of the two, not wanting people to get hurt and suffer, but then at the same time, wanting people to at least feel the pain and emotions that they kind of put you through. It talks about turning the other cheek. So, and I would say that's the part that I'm working through today, and I really talking about it, and I'm going to be journaling about it a little bit later. So, I did do a little bit of writing and stuff, kind of with AI and stuff earlier today. That really kind of helped, do some perspective framing and stuff like that. So, but it just got me thinking, and just wanted to share that moment of vulnerability just with me in my real time, healing process. Because, like I said, today is really the first time in a year that I've been around these individuals, really to be in this environment, because every time I was in this environment, I was here as a leader. So not only was I seeing them for the first time, but this is the first time that I'm in this environment to where I'm no longer a leader. I'm, what they consider a frontline contributor. So that cycle has closed from me being a leader to now me being in my new role. Also, that cycle with those individuals that I was associated with, I'll still have some loose associations with them from time to time, but I was just happy and glad that once I saw them that, I didn't get, I got a little bit of a nervous feeling, so to speak, because I was just wondering, like, what are they going to say, kind of come up to me. But then I also had to remember in my mind, if the shoe was on the other foot and I had done this person dirty and they had succeeded and even elevated even higher than me, then I probably wouldn't want to talk to them in the first place anyway. So it kind of goes to how we can potentially allow the fear to become louder in our heads and fail to recognize that other people have emotions as well. So chances are they probably didn't even want to talk to me anyways in the first place, because they know what they did, it wasn't right. So, why would they want to talk to me and have to bring up a situation where my current position and the current titles and stuff I have puts me in a certain aspect in a higher position than them. So it's just looking at being grateful for the situation, being grateful for what it taught me about myself, being grateful for how it helped me to step more into my authentic self, my confident self, to be here to actually talk to you and everyone and, share that story. Because like I said, I'm not trying to teach anybody how to do anything. I'm just trying to be an example of somebody that's just learning how to heal and to grow each and every day, never staying stagnant, because, I heard a saying once that since the moment we were born, we've been changing. So I just don't want to be someone that stays stagnant. I want to get better and I want to improve. So that's all I really had, family, wanted to share. So just definitely a nice and short one. So I'll see if I can do some short ones and then some more longer ones and stuff. Maybe kind of try it out a little bit and see how things go. So, but I do have some other reflections and stuff that I do want to share, and we'll be kind of putting them out and doing some videos. So it's been a little bit since I've gotten out to nature, and I definitely want to do that. Looks like the weather's finally cooperating with us here on the East Coast. So I'm up in Maryland right now, but we will see. So just remember, if you've gone through toxic scenarios, and you see those individuals that you've been in those scenarios with, getting rewards or getting what you feel like is undue justice, never let yourself become burdened in that moment. Just keep walking by faith and not by sight, because the sight will always deceive us. I don't know what's cooking up in the background that the divine has going on. And if I allow what my visual sight is showing me, it has the potential to throw me off of my path and my purpose. So say if there's some divine alignment, because like right now I'm getting ready to go to a dinner. So say if there's an aligned moment at this dinner that I'm supposed to experience, but I don't experience it because I'm allowing those thoughts, or I have allowed those thoughts to get into my head, that allows me to miss that dinner meeting, because I'm so much in my head and saying, woe is me, I'm a terrible person, maybe I was the wrong person in that scenario, and just getting myself wrapped up to where I go down that spiral and start going down that rabbit hole, and then I wind up missing a divinely timed and aligned situation. So don't give up, regardless of what it looks like. So today it looks like I was the bad person and I had this whole entire thing wrong, until I grounded myself and I brought my awareness back and basically talked it through. So if I can do it, family, you can do it too. So, in the moment, it definitely seems like there could potentially be no way out, or it just seems stressful because you have that emotional draw to it, and you kind of feel yourself starting to go to that sunken place, so to speak, but it's looking at drawing and pulling yourself out. So I wanted to show, but as you said, I have my smoky quartz, so I was carrying that around today. So, and I've got my lapis lazuli, so, and it's actually in a heart shape. I don't know if you can really see it there. So, but it's my lapis lazuli there. So I've been carrying this around. So, and I've got a couple of other ones. So, but these are really ones that kind of keep me grounded and stuff. So, but just keep going, family. So especially during those moments where you start to second guess yourself, just remember to not allow those thoughts to run away. Just take a moment, especially if you're able to, and just sit with yourself and go through those thoughts. And as you do and you recognize and start to reflect on the journey and where you are and where you've come from, then you will start to see just how silly those thoughts are. So in the moment when they first hit you, they don't seem silly whatsoever. They definitely seem very real. But as you sit there with yourself, with spirit and kind of talk and reason, and you start to realize, you're really worrying about nothing, and and it will show you also just how far you've come in the scenario. So just keep going, family. Just know that you've got others around you that have gone through and experienced the same things. We're here to support you. We love you more than anything in this world. So I love you. 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 So the last video I ended it off with giving a hug. So definitely maybe something we can start doing. So just going to send out a love to everybody. So, wherever you are, if you can, definitely not if you're driving, but whenever you get stationary, just put your arms around yourself, just kind of close your eyes. Even right now I kind of feel the tingles and the arising energy in my body, and I'm just picturing kind of from my heart chakra kind of going out, a green stream of energy going out to the camera, out to everybody. So just know that I love you. definitely makes me feel better already just after today, the day I kind of had. So I'm not a social butterfly, so to speak. So definitely a little bit of anxiety kind of going around and stuff around people. So definitely that was nice, a little bit of a recharge. So wish me luck, family, as I kind of go on this journey. So I'm sure I'll have another story to kind of come back and tell you guys from this. But just know, out of anything, you're not alone. There's people out here going through the exact same thing or have gone through it, and we're here to help you, and provide guidance, or at least provide a different perspective of how to see things. And then at the end of the day, it's still upon you to make your best informed decision based upon that. So just know I love you, family. I'm grateful to have you here. I'm grateful to know each and every one of you. And I know each and every one of you will have a great tomorrow. So I love you. Bye-bye.